Okay, welcome back everyone. This, as most of you will know, is the famous 61 Husqvarna. Definitely in the top 5 best saws ever made, most reliable saws, and very, very easy to work on. This saw has spent the latter stages of its life sitting on the shelf, been used as a junk saw for parts. As you can see, brake covers missing, fuel caps missing, something wrong with the throttle, on-off switch is gone. But today we're going to bring it back to life. Not only are we going to bring it back to life, but these saws, the whole bottom end, were the same for all the 2 series, or most of the 2 series saws. So I'm going to bring it up to a 272 spec. As you can see, everything is loose or falling off the saw. Coil is missing, plug is missing, exhaust bracket, exhaust bolts are loose. This particular saw, if you look at the plate on the side, it's a 1984 saw, so 1 year older than I am. Let's get to work and get it pulled down. Again, most saws you'll start, take the exhaust off, take the carburetor off. This particular saw, where the bolts are on the carburetor, they're Allen keys, but they're very hard to get in with the crankcase. You can try a ballpoint Allen key. Sometimes if it's slipped, you're in big trouble. So, easiest way to take off the carburetor is take cylinder and carb off altogether. Off. Everything is perished and breaking on it anyway. And that's that. Just that simple. Most of the time, there is a plate that sits here, so it's on over those 2 bolts and goes down. This one has been taken off for under saw, obviously. So, with that in mind, exhaust is off. And there we have it. That's simple to take it off. Piston doesn't actually look too bad in that. It's not an original cylinder. Probably actually a cheap aftermarket cylinder. There's no marks on it whatsoever. Anyway, while we're in this far, let's take it away, get it cleaned up, get it back here, and start to build. Okay, it's back after getting cleaned up. It looks a lot better. Everything cleaned up very well. Let's just put the saw to one side for the minute. Let's get this carburetor apart. These are the 2 bolts I was telling you about. When that's sitting down on the bottom end, it's very hard to get at these bolts. As you can see, some was at this one already. It's a small bit damaged in the corners, but let's take it apart. Like I said, these saws are very, very easy to work on. Very simple, very straightforward. Hardest part of your build is just getting everything lined up when you're putting it back together. You're putting the piston back down with the carburetor on it. main difference in the two cylinders, it's just the size really, and your intake manifold block. That is the new block. As you will see the difference in the measurements of it. This one's a lot more open. This one, when it's on, it just misses the bottom of the intake manifold. Here, doesn't seal right. So it's very important when you are doing this change that you get the 272 block for that. And again, the original bolts won't fit. You have to get these bolts. They're a narrower thread. Everything opened up. I always just let these soak. A little cap full of 2-stroke oil. On these pistons, if you look very closely at them, there's always an arrow pointing forward. That's the side that faces the exhaust. And just where the piston ring sits in, there's a small little dowel there, as well as the piston ring being shaped. It's kind of, there's a groove there that sits underneath that dowel. Just be careful and be mindful when you're putting that back together, otherwise the piston ring won't close properly. You'll end up possibly breaking it. So again, lots of 2-stroke oil. Get into that groove on the piston and stop premature wear and start up. So you take your little retaining clip, put one in first. Your circlip just pops in the groove on the piston. Just set all that to one side for a minute. Back here. Let's remove this piston. So the same as, get your pointy nose pliers. You pop out that retaining clip. Take your screwdriver and go from the other side. The wrist pin should slide out. That's that. Well, because this wasn't in bad shape, it's actually in better shape than I thought. Pop that in, just let it soak in the 2-stroke oil for a couple of minutes. Take our 2-stroke oil. Let's oil up all these bearings in the bottom end. rubber bearing back into the conrod. Our piston again. And our wrist pin back out. Not forgetting what I said earlier, arrow pointing forward, that's exhaust side. These are nice and handy, be able to see what you're at. Get your wrist pin in, little wobble and shows right in, simple as that. Our second little retaining clip. Simple. Okay, that's the piston ready to go. Again, let's put our saw back over here out of the way. Let's grab our cylinder. Let's put a carburetor on it. So, like I mentioned earlier, this manifold block, it's a must-have. So if you are ordering the piston, the cylinder, make sure you get that block. This air filter off out of the way. Right, time to get the cylinder back together. So, got a carburetor, a new intake block, new gasket, and our new bolts. That's that, ready to go. So, back to the two-stroke. Just coat the inside of the cylinder wall. Leaves reassembly a lot easier as the piston move up, a lot simpler. Or so. Now for the hard bit. What is you want to pinch the ring with your fingers. Again, just making sure that's out of the way of the dowel. I'm going to use a cable tie in this one. It's going to leave it a lot easier. Okay, so the first attempt at putting this on didn't really work too well for us. So let's take a cable tie. in the right foot position. Right, it keeps the ring nice and tight. Okay, so get your piston, give it a little jiggle, and that's it. Make your snips. Snip over the cable tie, and you're ready to go. What you haven't seen in this video is the base gasket. That base gasket that was on it is absolutely perfect, so no need to change. Just when you are putting this back together, the leg for idle, the carburetor sticks out a bit on the idle screw. So if you're not careful putting it down, you'll force it down and you'll bend that. So a small little pull on there, and that's it. Simple. Get your head bolts. One down. Your Allen key, tighten it by hand. I always tighten by hand. Sometimes those guns, the battery can be up a bit or down, not giving you the same tightness. And sometimes you can ring. It has happened. It hasn't happened in a long time because I try not to do it anymore. That's the main reason I don't do it anymore. It's because you spend about 2 hours trying to get out a bolt that you broke, or else you've stripped the threads. And that's an end to your next project. That's it, all tightened down. Okay, next up the exhaust. Like I said, on these old 61s, the biggest problem was, that's the original 61 exhaust, it's the fins where it comes out here. Now we could close that off, put a plate over it, weld it up, and put a port out the front. That's the 272 exhaust. Much better. Again, if you want to modify the saw even more, get it going a bit faster, cut that off and put a bigger one on. But we're just going to leave this stock for now. Again, I said at the start, there was a few bits missing off this saw. One being the exhaust support bracket. And because it goes in beside the spike, there's a bolt that goes right through, keeping the tank together. So, better to get our exhaust tightened up. Get our bolt back in there. Again, just make sure not to over tighten everything. Run it out with the zip gun if you have one. If not, do it by hand. But always tighten the last few bolts by hand. Right, let's get the carburetor set up again. Fuel line back on. Throttle linkage. And choke. Okay, next up, because this is a 272 XP top end, it's a decompressor button for these. There isn't one in the original 61, so get this into place. The thing is, with the original 61, they had a chain brake with a steel handle. If you try and use that original chain brake off the 61, it won't work, because it's in the way of the decompressor button. So it's pointless even having the decompressor on it. For the eagle-eye viewer out there, you might notice the handle is a different color. I had to pause the video there for a couple of minutes because, as it is an open workshop, I had two guys in looking for chains, so I had to stop, make their chains, and start this again. And the reason I changed the handle was because the original handle was bent and was in the way of the decompressor button also, and in the way of the chain brake. I suppose that's been sitting there 15 years. What else would you expect? Okay, next on to the coil. There's a two-part coil in these. Part over here picks up your timing and sends it across to an ignition module over here that goes up for our spark. just have to set the air gap. There is settings for most of these for an air gap. A simple business card works wonders, saves time, stops you from taking out your feeler gauge, set it up. So put in your business card, let it around where the magnet is in the flywheel, should pull in tight enough. And again, because this saw has been sitting on the shelf for so long, that's not the right bolt. Let's get away here. See, can we get one that fits? Much better. That air gap should be perfect. Okay, second part. It's this ignition module. Again, these bolts are probably wrong size because it's been sitting there so long. One side of the ignition module has to be grounded. And the other two yellow wires connected up to this little plastic plate here. second part of the switch, the black wire from our ignition coil. Across there. Through that hole. Should come out up here into our switch, which we don't have, obviously. So again, let's go see can we find a switch. Back in a second. Okay, got that sorted. Connect up the wire on our switch. There you go. That's it. Right, time to get the side cover on. Just make sure we've got spark. Careful not to pinch any of those wires. Should be in the correct place. Spark plug. That'll help. And there we have a spark. Right, next let's get the plug into it and see how she runs. Pretty good. Let's get a new fuel cap and a new oil cap. Okay, so we just have to make do with a new fuel cap. Can't lay my hands on a new oil cap. This one, look, that'll do for now. I'll be ordering parts during the week, so I'll throw one on order. Oh, almost forgot. Because it's been sitting there for so long. New fuel filter. Whole fuel line has gone hard, so while I'm this far, might as well replace the whole lot. little too hard there. That's it. Let's get that connected up. Let's get her fueled up. First mix or two, I'll always put 2 mixes, full mixes through the saw, and I always mix these first 2 a little bit stronger at about 35-1. Just let the saw idle, keep it outside somewhere on a tire or something like that, it'll take the vibration. Let it run, let it cool off for 20 minutes, come back, do the same thing again, fill it up, let it go. Spill the wee drop. Oh, that should be our saw near enough ready to go. Okay, again, just before we wrap up, before we fire up this machine, couple of things to take note if you are doing this conversion. It's a straight on 61, just with a new top end, that's fine, you don't need to change anything. But with these original 61s, the ones in the late 70s, early 80s, that came with the white cover, there's not enough clearance for the new piston and jug because the cylinder sits a bit taller. Now, the older, or sorry, should I say the newer grey one will fit it, and the orange one will fit it. Unfortunately, this is all I have in stock, which is the older grey one that somebody has done a tasty job with an angle grinder on. It'll do for now. Like I said, I've parts to order during the week. I'll order a few bits for this and get a new top cover. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Main things to take away. If you're doing a 72 conversion, make sure you get the intake block and the bolts. Vital. Make sure you get the gaskets. Vital. Otherwise, you're having to go and try and make your own gaskets. I'd change the exhaust, as the old 61 exhaust comes out the side. Again, that's why you have trouble with the top cover. Make sure, because not all cylinder rebuild kits have the decompressor. Make sure you have. And if you're going 72 and have the old steel handle, you need to change that. I'll show you in a minute. Right, let's get the air filter on. Again, the 272 has a different type of air filter. I have them there. They will be going onto it once I get the new top cover. Let's get it into the vise, get a bar and chain on this thing. Because this saw set up so long, I just wanted to make sure that the oil gallery is clear, which it seems to be perfect. These bars are by an Italian company. You use them quite a lot. Not a bad bar for the money. I'm paying 80 or 90 euros for a Husqvarna bar. These work a treat. So, bar on, some pre-cut chains. When I get a minute, I make those up. Buy them in 100-foot rolls, the handiest way. like I said earlier, the original chain brake has a steel handle. They're rare, very hard to come by, and because this is a 272, the decompressor button, it won't work with the original chain brake. This is actually 272 chain brake. That's that. Right, let's take it away. We'll run the first tank through it, let it cool down a bit, run the second tank through. You should be good to cut wood by the evening. So after about 15 years, we've brought this 61 back to life. Not only is it back to life, but it's now a 72cc saw. The same spec as a 272 XP. Only one problem, we haven't started it yet. So this is first start up. Let's see how this goes. I reckon 5 pulls. Wow. A little bit more fine tuning, we'll get it outside. It's a bit too smoky in here, so we'll let it run through that first tank.